Hi everybody. Okay, so I'm gonna try something a little different for a couple of days. Um, because Valentine's Day is coming up, um, I wanted to do a couple of reviews of what I consider romantic comedies and just explore the topic and that kind of thing. Okay, now I meant to do it for a whole week, but I just didn't think about it. So what I'm gonna do is for the last 3 days, for the next 3 days, I'm going to talk about at least two movies a day with themes of either love, lost, found, rekindled. So it's not all going to be romantic, like, they make it in the end kind of a thing. Okay? And I'm going to jump around into from back in the 90s to as currently as possible to 2000s, so all around. So I'm gonna try this as a segment and see how it goes. Okay, so I thought I'd start off with some a film I think most people are familiar with, um, and if you're not, I'll discuss it right now, so you will be. All right. This film was made in 1998. So we're talking about uh, 25 plus 5 plus, no, 25 plus 27 years ago. Um, okay, so I get that some of the themes and some of the wardrobe might be a bit dated, but I don't think the plot is. And also, it's kind of a remake, but they didn't freshen it up. So unless you happen to know about the movie they made in the 1940s to 50s called The Shop Girl or Shop Around the Corner, um, that was a remake on that. Okay. But of course, like I said, updated and with the current themes because you have to remember that in 1998, around 1995 is when the whole internet, came to be, and then everybody knows about I think AOL, and they always said you have mail. You would open up your account or whatever, and it would say you have mail, and so they take a rip off of that too. Okay, now the two main characters are Catherine Kelly and Joe Fox. Okay, Catherine Kelly. I looked at the description of it, and I like to do that because I like to see how they describe it versus how I would describe it. Okay, and here are the differences. They say a boutique bookseller is struggling. A struggling boutique bookseller um, doesn't like when she meets Joe Fox. She hates him, but uh, secretly and without knowing each other's identity, they they start an intense and anonymous relationship online. Okay. Uh, yes and no. Um, uh, Anonymous, yes. Intense, I don't know if I would say that. I'd say they started a pretty good friendship, but that's about it. Because and the character goes into the story of you know, oh, I happened to meet this guy when I accidentally or whatever went into the 30s chat room and uh, I met him and we started talking and it was like great and you know, and but we said no personal details, so I don't know anything about him. I don't know where he lives. I don't know what he does. I don't know his name. None of that. Okay. And they exchanged emails there for the mail part. But intense. They talk about their love of school supplies and things like that. So intense is not a word I would use to describe that. And I kind of shuddered when I read it and I said, struggling boutique. Okay. Well, maybe struggling, but um, I don't know if you remember or if ever encountered one, but like a used bookstore, like a neighborhood used bookstore that only the locals know about, that kind of thing. Okay, that's what they're talking about. They're not talking about some unknown, you know, like way off in the boonies bookstore. And of course, Joe Fox, Tom Hanks, um, plays of a guy who you can tell is well off because, well, he does have a boat or a yeah, boat. And that's number one. And number two, he talks about money in a way that you know he has some. And his father and them have like their own store. And because they have a conversation. And also in the room that they're sit in is like very ornate, decorated, you know the thing. And they're having a discussion about, well, Dad, I'm gonna buy out so and so section, and well, how much money are you paying, son? You know, because he wants to make sure that he doesn't waste his money on something that the person's not gonna buy. Other people aren't gonna want to buy. Um, so I like to say, of course, it's not okay, but I like to say it's a really big take on like a Barnes and Noble kind of a situation, and they're gonna call it box books, obviously, okay, and it's gonna be a mega store, like a giant like okay, picture a big Kmart or a big Walmart, that kind of thing, only for books. So that's why I say Barnes and Noble ish. You know, I'm sorry, I don't mean any disrespect. I was not trying to do anything. I don't, you know, nothing like that. I was just trying to give you an example of, yeah. Okay. So, Dave Chappelle plays his best friend, and they have a line in the movie, um, you know, because Dave Chappelle's character is all worried about, do you think we're going to do okay and all this? And Tom Hanks says, yeah, we're going to sell legal, legal stimulants, legal addictive stimulants, meaning coffee. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. And then also another part of the movie I like personally, and I think my dad likes it too, um, because I'm not a big coffee drinker myself, but my dad is, and he said, why can't people just order a black coffee or something? Like, what's wrong with that? Do you really need all these specialty drinks? So, um, and he says, and so Tom Hanks says, what's wrong with a tall decaf, or whatever, coffee? Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So, of course, they actually, because they're in the same business, but they don't know it, they meet, right? At a holiday party or some kind of, you know. And also, the release date is December 18th of 1998. So that's why you see the holiday Christmas theme in the movie. That's why. Okay. So they meet at the party and they hate each other. I mean, literally, legit hate each other. And um, yeah, so, so she he likes to take the garnish off the plate, and she's like, "You can't have the garnish. It's supposed to go on the." So they have a thing about that, and yeah, okay. So the part about let's see, the part about struggling. Well, I mean, like I said, unless you happen to be in the neighborhood, you probably don't know about the store. But she did have a constant flood of customers, so I wouldn't call that struggling. So, um, yeah, okay. So they meet in person, like I said, and they don't like each other. But then they keep meeting now, you know, several times, and he's got okay. So their situations are the reason. Okay, I should have said this probably in the beginning, but I wasn't thinking. Okay, the reason why they're not in a relationship now, a romantic relationship, is because they both have other partners. And feels like they're with the people they think they should be with because they look good on paper together, but when it comes to it, they don't have any actual chemistry anymore. Because okay, imagine if you've been with somebody for a while and you get comfortable with them, but you're not romantically attracted to them anymore. That situation for both sides. Um, and Meg Ryan and her boyfriend's character, they talk about it and they go, his name is Frank. Um, and so they say, you know, I suppose I'm supposed to like you. We're supposed to work, but I don't love you. And he says, I don't love you either. And I'm like, wow. I mean, I understand it. I've just never had a couple that like said, you know, we're supposed to like each other. We're supposed to be good, but no. And for Tom Hanks's character, the girlfriend, uh, imagine somebody who always seems anxious, nervous, talks too much, like jittery, you know. Um, he said she makes coffee beans nervous. So that kind of character. Okay. So of course that they break up eventually. They both couples break up, and then you know how after you've dated somebody, you start to think about maybe somebody else, but like not fully, but like have the wish for somebody else. That was where they were at, and then they finally do meet at the very end, like literally at the very end of the movie, and it's it's the best scene because not because they end up together, which they do, but it's because she says, I think the best line of any movie I've ever seen for romance anyway, which is I hoped it was you. You know, and of course it was. But like the tear, she has one tear come down her face, you know, and I'm like, man, I could feel that. Like this was back in the day when if it was a good script and a good movie and everything, you could feel what the characters were feeling through the screen. I love those kind of movies. That's why I put it on my list. I hope I gave you an accurate depiction of what the movie is about and the characters and everything else. And I hope you check out the film if you're so inclined.